about your NLIS and traceability requirements when owning, loaning, keeping, selling, and/or buying livestock. The importance of traceability, why me? As a livestock owner, whether you're a large-scale producer, a hobby farmer, or keep a single animal as a pet, your animal can impact the multi-billion-dollar livestock industry just the same as everyone else's. It is vital that properties where livestock are kept are registered on our Victorian database, that animals leaving properties are identified correctly, and they can be traced from one place to another. Traceability enables monitoring for disease, food safety, and underpins Australia's local and international markets. The Livestock Traceability System for identifying and tracking livestock is a National Livestock Identification System, or NLIS. The NLIS consists of 3 elements: the identification of a physical location, known as a Property Identification Code or a PIC, an animal identifier, an NLIS tag, and a national web accessible database, the NLIS database, which stores and correlates livestock movement data and associated details. A Property Identification Code, or a PIC, is an 8-character code allocated by Agriculture Victoria to identify a property on which livestock are kept. In Victoria, PICs commence with the prefix 3 and are in the format 3 ABCD 123, as shown in the diagram, the PIC card. The first 2 letters identify the local government area in which the property is located. For example, I'm in Ballarat, so mine would be 3BT. All livestock owners, managers and occupiers of land must have an up-to-date PIC for properties where livestock are kept, regardless of whether the livestock are being moved or not. There is no cost to apply or for maintain a PIC in Victoria. You must have a PIC to purchase livestock, sell livestock and buy NLIS tags. You must have a PIC if you intend to keep 1 or more cattle, sheep, goats, pigs, camelids, alpacas or llamas, deer, horses, more than 100 poultry, or more than 10 farmed emus or ostriches. Cattle NLIS tags and tagging. There are 2 types of NLIS tags to identify cattle. They are known as breeder tags and post-breeder tags. NLIS breeder tags are white and must only be used to identify cattle that are on their property of birth. NLIS post-breeder tags are orange and are used to identify introduced cattle, not already identified with a breeder or post-breeder device. I've included 2 pictures on the right-hand side there of the breeder and the post-breeder tag. If an animal is born on a property and it loses its tag, the tag can be replaced with a white breeder tag. If an animal has been introduced onto a property and loses its tag, it must be replaced with an orange post-breeder tag. If an animal is born on a property and never leaves, then there is no requirement for the animal to be tagged. Cattle are required to be tagged prior to dispatch off the property of birth. Placement of a tag in a cow's ear is very important for keeping it in place. As shown in the diagram, if the tag is placed in the middle of the ear, close to the base of the animal's head, it is less likely to rip the tag out. NLIS tags in cattle must be attached to the animal's right offside ear, as shown in the picture at the top page. A second NLIS tag must not be attached if there is already an NLIS tag present. 1 NLIS tag per animal. NLIS tags purchased for use on one property must not be applied to cattle located on another property. NLIS tags must not be removed unless the tag is damaged or cannot be read electronically. Tagging sheep and goats. There's a visual and electronic NLIS tags. There's 2 systems running at the moment in sheep and goats. On the 24th of August 2016, the Minister for Agriculture announced that Victoria would transition to the mandatory use of electronic ear tags in sheep and goats. The visual tag system will continue to operate in conjunction with the electronic NLIS system until 2022, when the electronic system will be fully implemented in Victoria. All sheep and most goat breeds in Victoria, born in Victoria from 1st of January 2017, must be identified with an electronic NLIS tag. All sheep and most goat breeds born before 1st of January 2017 must be identified with either a visually readable or an electronic NLIS tag. There are two types of NLIS tags to identify sheep and goats, similar to cattle. Breeder tags, they are colour-coded for year of birth and can only be used to identify sheep and goats that are still on their property as of birth. And post-breeder tags, which are pink, and they can be used to identify sheep and goats no longer on the property on which they were born. If an animal is born on a property and it loses its tag, the tag can be replaced with a coloured breeder tag. If an animal has been introduced onto a property and loses its tag, it must be replaced with a pink post-breeder tag, similar to cattle. Also, like cattle, if an animal is born on a property and never leaves, then there is no requirement for that animal to be tagged. Sheep and goats are required to be tagged prior to dispatch off the property of birth. Placement of the tag, similar to cattle, in sheep and goats' ear is very important for keeping it in place. As shown in the diagram at the top of the page, if the tag is placed in the middle of the ear, close to the base of the animal's head, it is less likely to be ripped out. Electronic sheep and goat NLIS tags. Similar to cattle, one electronic tag per animal. Different to cattle is that the species, either sheep or goats, are nominated when ordering tags, and those tags are made specifically for that species. The correct tag must be placed in the correct species. And just like cattle, cattle tags shouldn't be used in sheep or goat's ears, and sheep and goat tags shouldn't be used in cattle's ears. The tags must not be removed unless they are not functioning or are damaged. They can be affixed to the left or the right ear, which is different to cattle, which are only in the right ear. Any NLIS approved colour can be used. So if you have some left over that you ordered last year, you can use them in the next 3 years' animals. There's no requirement around that. The NLIS database. The NLIS database is industry managed and stores a huge amount of information relating to cattle, sheep and goat movement. As animals are bought, sold and moved along the supply chain, they must be tagged with an NLIS tag. Each movement they make to a location with a different pick is recorded centrally on the NLIS database by people with NLIS accounts. NLIS accounts are free to open and operate. There are many reports available from NLIS database, including confirming livestock movement records for stock that have moved onto or off your property. Further information about the NLIS database can be found at www.nlis.com.au or calling their hotline on 1800 654 743. Property-to-property movements of livestock. A property-to-property movement occurs when an animal moves between two different property identification codes, PICs. This includes private sales of animals, animals being adjusted or lent, and animals traded through online selling platforms such as Auction Plus, Gumtree, and Facebook. Victorian producers are required to notify the NLIS database when they receive the cattle, sheep, and/or goats directly from another property, and notification must occur within 2 days of the arrival. The receiver may engage someone else to notify the database on their behalf, including the person who dispatched the livestock, a stock agent, or the livestock transporter if they are equipped to do so, but the responsibility still lies with the receiver. Property-to-property excludes movements of livestock to and from sale yards and abattoirs, as a sale or abattoir operators complete their NLIS transfer on those people's behalf. NLIS tags consist of two numbers, an external NLIS identifier, which is the visual ID on the outside of the tag, including the pick of the property it was allocated to. This number can be physically read off the outside of the tag. The second number is the internal radio frequency identification device, or the RFID. This is the internal number of the tag and can be found by scanning the tag. The visual ID and the RFID are linked together with the pick used to order the tags and uploaded to the NLIS database. Agriculture Victoria recommends using a scanner to read electronic tags. However, if a scanner is not available, the visual NLIS ID can be used. If a visual ID is used to complete a livestock transfer on the NLIS database, Please ensure it is correct, as an incorrect number or letter could result in the transfer of the incorrect animal. Scanning the device ensures the numbers are correct. Buying, selling and moving livestock. National Vendor Declarations for an NVD. Producers must provide a vendor declaration for any movements of sheep, goats and cattle off their property. When livestock are purchased, the buyer must be provided with a vendor declaration. Producers use the National Vendor Declaration to declare necessary and valuable information about the food safety status of the livestock being sold. Buyers rely on the NVD for accurate information on the livestock purchased, and processors rely on the information to ensure only safe food enters our food chain. So to conclude, the NLIS, protecting you, your neighbour and your livestock industry. Further information can be found at www.agriculture.vic.gov.au or by calling the Agriculture Victoria helpline on 1800 678 779. Those conclude